We've seen a really great day in terms of news in the crypto or in the macro market, but yet we've seen crypto dump. Now, this probably sounds about on brand just because we usually seem to see crypto do things that don't typically make a lot of sense. But I do think that there might be a little bit of some reasoning for this. We're going to be talking a little bit about that today, and we also are going to be talking about why I think that even though we're seeing some bad things short term with price action, I don't actually think that this is like a really bad thing in the bigger picture. And so I want to talk a little bit about that today. We also, as I mentioned in the title, have some major news today. There's actually kind of two pieces of major news that I wanted to talk about. So we'll also be going through that in the video today as well. And so first off, we will actually start with the first major piece of news, which we can see here. This is a post from Michael Saylor. We can see that Brian Armstrong, who is the CEO of Coinbase, Coinbase has actually been added to the S&P 500 index, which is of course a major milestone for Coinbase itself, as well as Bitcoin and the crypto space just more generally. This is of course really good news. This is very validating for crypto as a whole. We now have a crypto first company that is in the largest index or the most important index we could probably, or one of the most important indexes in the world, which is of course really cool to see. And what do we get on top of all this great news? A whole bunch of selling. Basically all of the cryptos are down. We can see really the only crypto of note up is XRP. We have a couple of here and there, I guess. We got KuCoin and Form and Leo and Litecoin. Those are all up just a tiny bit, but of course it's fairly obvious to see a whole bunch of cryptos down and down a decent chunk. However, this isn't necessarily a bad thing because we can see on the weekly still very green, and then monthly also very green again in itself as well. So things doing pretty well over the kind of more recent term, even though things not looking particularly great today. And of course we will take a little bit closer look at this. We could see here we have a little bit of some stuff going on with Bitcoin specifically, but I want to take a look at the second piece of good news, which is closer with the tariffs and the trade war and all that type of stuff. We can see that there's actually some progress announced today as it relates to the Chinese tariffs and the trade war, all that type of stuff, and we can see the stock market is just going absolutely nuts off it. Apple up 6%, AMD 5%, Amazon 8%. We can see even CleanSpark up, Coinbase up 3%. Doing quite well. Dell up. I mean, a whole bunch of just major US stocks up here today. We can see that, and this is one of the actually really cool things about BTCC, is they do offer tokenized stocks and commodities. So you can trade those here on BTCC if you are interested, in addition to the normal cast of characters, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, all those other types of good ones. If you are interested in trading on BTCC, I do have that link in the description below. They are doing that 10% bonus on first time deposits, as well as up to $10,055 in deposit and trading bonuses, which of course all really good deals if you are interested. But now of course we'll go and we'll check out the Bitcoin chart in a little bit more detail here. And we can see that we're actually right now seeming to be on a decent bit of support. We have wicked up a little bit both of the past 2 days. We'll have to see if this actually holds. If not, I would imagine we probably come back down into this 97,500 range if I had to guess. And then if we actually go a little bit further down from there, we're probably going to be looking at maybe this 92,500 range would probably be kind of my next best estimate there. Again, so we have kind of two fairly decent levels of support here that we could be looking to see. Now again, we did talk a little bit about how this is not really too concerning to me because we probably could have expected this coming in over the past a couple of weeks. And the reason why I say that is because almost every single time that we've had both price extended outside of the Bollinger Bands as well as price being marked as overbought on the RSI, we have seen some level of kind of short-term pullback, even if it's not anything crazy and we're not dropping to the bottom of the Bollinger Band or anything like that. It usually is some level of kind of momentary pullback, even if it's just for price to kind of take its breath a little bit before we continue a move back to the upside. We have started to see that here. And so of course, how long we go down, how far we go down, all of that type of stuff, almost impossible to say, but we have seen kind of basically a right sizing correction here, like what we would have expected to see. So we can see here RSI back out or inside of kind of the standardized bands, so we are not overbought anymore. And then we are also, of course, inside on the Bollinger Bands as well. So things kind of coming back to what we may have expected here. And of course, nothing again here is financial advice. There are, past results or no indicators or guarantees of future results. And so, we don't actually know for sure what's going to happen, but we have kind of been checking and going over these technicals for months and months and months at this point, and they've given us a relatively decent kind of indicator of how we can view some of these types of things. Now, the next thing that I want to take a look at here is to why I think we could have seen some of this kind of price coming back down to the downside is liquidations. Now, of course, over the past 24 hours, over $730 million liquidated here, which again, an insane amount. We can see that the liquidity and the volume is back in crypto. We're starting to see some crazy amounts getting liquidated again. Here we can see the vast majority of liquidations coming on longs here. Now, if you remember from our video a couple days back, we did actually have a video where we were looking at the Bitcoin liquidation map, and we could see that there was a massive amount of liquidations to the downside because of two reasons. One, obviously we'd just seen a really strong move to the upside, liquidating basically almost all of the shorts. But we were starting to see people get a little bit greedy because we were seeing some moves to the upside. We were seeing long liquidations pile up. And usually when we start to see something like that, it's a very strong indicator that we are probably going to be seeing a move further back to the downside. And so I did just want to kind of prepare everybody for that, which it does in fact seem that we have seen so far. So again, now that we've started to see liquidations maybe come back to a little bit of a neutral here, maybe we'll start to see maybe some consolidation. If I had to guess, we will probably see just some chopping around, trying to liquidate as many people as possible. People that are getting overly bullish, overly bearish on any of these small types of moves. I think that is something that we will probably expect to see, just because that's usually what tends to happen. Is we'll see a strong move, and then we'll see people kind of getting excited, trying to kind of pick the next big direction, and then they'll just kind of chop around, liquidate those people, and then we'll see another big move either to the up or downside, just kind of depending on how the market unfolds. Now, the last thing that I wanted to check out here is the altcoin season index. What we can see here is we did actually start to move up outside of Bitcoin season, not into altcoin season, but just back into neutral. But of course, with the changes in the recent changes in price, we have seen a dip back down into Bitcoin season. Now, this is something that I wanted to highlight and kind of talk a little bit more about in detail, just because we did start to see Bitcoin dominance subside a little bit. We did start to see some signs of life coming from altcoins, which of course all of this is really, really good news. But one of the things that we haven't, or that we weren't really sure on, is how far they would go. And this is another kind of chart that's good to look at, because of course, while we were starting to see a little bit of some signs of life from altcoins, it is still very, very clearly Bitcoin season. And so I think it's very important to remember not to get too carried away, and keep in mind of all of the types of things with these types of stats that we do see, just to make sure that we're not mortgaging the farm or doing anything like that to go in on altcoins when it's still Bitcoin season, right? So you want to just make sure you're being measured with your investments and not going and getting over leveraged on things like that. You're not leverage trading too hard, any of that type of stuff. All of those definitely very dangerous and can get you in trouble. So just make sure that you're being safe and careful and all that type of stuff. Now, of course, none of this is financial advice. These are just my observations that I am seeing in the market as we do kind of continue along, and potentially some of the actions that I am taking based on the observations that I have. However, of course, I do not have a crystal ball or anything like that. So I, of course, do not have any idea where we do end up going for certain. So just want to give you guys a reminder of that. Also as well, if you did find the information in this video useful, a like and a subscribe really does help me out. So if you would be interested, please just go on ahead and do both of those. It takes just a couple of seconds and it does massively help me out. Also, if you have any comments, questions, thoughts, feelings, concerns, whatever, just drop those in the comment section. I do try to read and respond to all of those. So if you have anything that you want me to see, that'd be a great way to do so. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.